Hello, I'm Jacob, and you are watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. Today, we are here to talk about the Halfbreed Blades Large Bush Folder. I'll just go ahead and not edit that out. So, basically, a little prelude here, a little message. If you have absolutely no interest in a large folder, then this review is over. There's nothing that I can say, nothing that you can do that will make this into a gentleman's folder that's just going to slide right into your little pocket. This thing is absolutely a tank. It weighs in at over a pound, which means that this folding knife right here is heavier than a Becker BK9 or Ontario SP5. And I am absolutely okay with that. And I'm going to tell you why. But again, before we get into that, that does not mean that this is a replacement for those knives. So specifically, someone asked me, hey, I've been interested in the Halfbreed, why do I keep doing that? The Halfbreed Blades Large Bush Knife, okay? And obviously, the large bush folder is very similar in design, but it is certainly smaller. Weight distribution is much different, grind is much different, etc. But they said, I'm interested in the large bush knife. Should I get the large bush folder instead? This may weigh as much as a large bush knife. However, if you need a large bush knife, and I'm using that term generically for any large knife, do not buy a large folder. If you need a large bush knife, you need to purchase a large bush knife. There is no way that a folding knife like this can replace one of those knives. However, if you find yourself in a situation where you need a large bush knife and you only have whatever knife it is that you have on your person, this is a pretty good folding knife to have. And I don't mind the size, weight, or bulk myself. So with all of that out of the way, all right, let's get straight into it. We're gonna start off with the blade. All right, this blade comes in at just a hair over 4 inches, and it's 5.5 millimeters thick. So for all of us hillbilly Yanks, that is coming up on a 1/4 of an inch thick. I think it's like 0.212 or something like that. It's over like 1/5 of an inch thick. So we're talking about a chonker honker. It is actually a thicker spine than the Becker BK9. We have a hollow ground blade, which I'll talk about more at the end of the video. And one of the cherries on top, one of the coolest things about this knife and the blade is the steel is in fact S35 VN. You've got nice thumb studs on either side. You've got a fuller. In the description it says that's for weight distribution. It's not, whatever. Jimping, both well-positioned jimping, if you like jimping, for your normal hold, and then spine jimping, which I do appreciate for the choil. The choil is very generous. And then obviously we have the swedge here, unsharpened. I do kind of personally wish maybe that this was like a square swedge that we could get a ferro rod off of this, but that's all right. Next up for the handles. Titanium pocket clip, titanium scales, and then these are a 420J liner. Just a good for a liner material, just a good stainless. Your 420J is a Chinese version of 420HC. In my testing of buck knives of the same knife in 420HC and 420J, both with Boss heat treat, I didn't really notice much of a difference. But the best thing about the 420 series of stainless steels is it can be stamped, so it can be made cost effectively, and it is very stainless. And with this finish, the black, I believe, PVD finish on it, it's going to be even stainlesser. So very cool. The pivot, as far as I can just see that it uses washers. Now, when it comes to knife nerds, specifically folding knife nerds, there's the huge debate on bearings versus washers, and not just washers. Is it a brass washer? Is it a Teflon washer? And I'm going to be honest, I don't even know what kind of washers this thing uses. That's really not my segment. This is not the channel that you come to for like the folding knife nerd info. I take it out, I use it, I review it. It's about that. I'll talk about locks a little bit, but I've never really had an issue with any pivot that I've had. I'll say that was embarrassing. This thing comes out so smoothly and so nicely, which again, I'm going to talk about a little bit later. And we can't talk about the handle, obviously, without talking about the locking mechanism. This is a liner lock. On their website, it says extremely overbuilt for heavy-duty use. I've heard some people complain about the strength of liner locks. I think that the liner lock versus frame lock, when it comes to strength argument, is a little bit silly, but we'll see, because we will be the primary use for this knife on this channel will be as a bush knife, so I will be batoning with it. We will see how that liner holds up. It looks plenty thick. I think that it looks plenty comparable to some of the zero tolerances that I've had in the past. And when we talk about the handle also, we have this glass breaker right here. And actually, I'm very impressed with this glass breaker because the attention to detail. This glass breaker is D2 hardened to 60 to 62 HRC, again with that ion bond or PVD or whatever finish on it. And actually, D2, when it comes to price and what it's made for, is probably the best steel for a glass breaker. And to take the time to properly heat treat it for breaking glass, I think is very impressive. D2 has large carbides, and I've been impressed with it lately. I'm going to have to do a whole review video where I talk about it. It's still not my preferred steel. But what D2 is made for is dies. So on a machine for stamping out other steels with 90-degree edges, you have a D2 die, it comes down and it presses right through the steel and stamps out the desired outline or whatever. And so for a big, thick point like this has, I think it's basically the perfect steel. And I think it shows a lot of attention to detail to harden it the way that they did as well. Blade centering. Blade's not perfectly centered. I think that the liner lock pushes a little bit on the blade. I don't necessarily know, and I don't necessarily care, to be honest. That's not my hill to die on. It rockets out nicely. When it's in place, there's absolutely really no play in the blade whatsoever. That's more of what I care about. So how well the blade is centered, it's not really I don't care, to be honest. And I don't think it's bad. It's not like it's really rubbing on one side. You saw it. It's just not centered. Whatever. Okay, and these slabs here are titanium. This is a freaking buttload of titanium. Like, this is a lot of titanium right here. And I will be using these bow drill divots, by the way. Now the knife is shaped so that if you were going to use it as a glass breaker, I feel that I would be very comfortable to do it open or closed, whether I'm using the finger choil or not. I certainly feel like that would be very easy to do, especially considering the heft of the blade. You've got a big lanyard hole. And the pocket clip also is titanium. And so I keep opening this off camera. It comes out very nicely. It's not a zero resistance deal like some of those people who play with their knives a lot and they just want to touch it, and it comes out very smoothly, and certainly with authority. It is very easy to close one-handed, and when you do close it one-handed, it does drop nicely in place. The blade also does stay. See if I can get this close to the microphone. I don't see this blade coming open in your pocket at all. I think it's very well designed in that department. The handle is extremely comfortable. It's large. It's great. All right, so I said I'd talk about a few things later. Let's talk about the use of this knife and my experience with it so far. Now, you know, I'm gonna embarrass myself. I did cut myself. I was at a family gathering. I was playing with my knife without thinking about it, without paying attention. I was opening and closing it and flipping it. It's very satisfying to open and close because the way that it just clunks and locks into place. It's very nice. Did it about 3,000 times, and one time my pinky was a little too close. Basically sliced the pad of my pinky fingertip almost all the way off, left about that much skin holding it in place. Paper thin slice, still bleeding, not really painful, super clean cut, hasn't even gotten infected, but just went right through there. And so speaking of that, the performance of the knife with the hollow grind for pocket knife stuff is just very good. It really is. Slices through stuff wonderfully. I've used it for eating. I've used it for everything. I've been EDCing it, and I've loved the performance of it. Out of the box sharpness is just absolutely phenomenal. It's held an edge perfectly. Fit and finish is perfect. It's just basically perfect. Some people are going to argue that if the blade isn't centered, that fit and finish isn't perfect. Maybe that has more to do with the heavy-duty overbuilt liner lock. I don't know, but as far as I can tell, for cutting purposes so far, for edge finish, for chamfered edges, for feel, fit and finish is perfect. There's no gaps, there's nothing sticking out. It's all just very nice. And I said I'd talk about the hollow grind. When we talk about fixed blades, I poo-poo hollow grinds if they're hard use knives, because I do like hollow grinds on certain things. The hollow grind on my Anza Boddington I like very much because it's meant to be a slicer. A hollow grind on a survival knife, I don't like so much. Your hollow grind, as a rule, is not going to be quite as tough as something else. This knife, with having such a thick spine, is a compromise. This hollow grind allows the extremely thick spine thickness, the extremely thick stock being used of premium steel, to still slice like a pocket knife very, very, very nicely. And I would have preferred a flat grind on here. The problem is, and I probably wouldn't sell this knife with a flat grind, is it wouldn't sell. Nobody would buy it because this is a large bush folder. The flat grind might have been better for strength and might have been better in the bush, but then it wouldn't have sliced as well, and nobody would enjoy using it as a pocket knife, which, even if it is a pound of giant titanium amazingness, that is pretty much still what people want to use it for. So making it a flat grind might have some benefits, but if it doesn't sell, what's the point? The hollow grind helps this knife perform incredibly well, and to back up a little bit, I'm less worried about the strength of the edge with this S35VN. I think it's going to be plenty tough. It's absolutely a premium steel, and it's a folding knife. So it doesn't have to necessarily be as tough as a fixed blade because the blade is not going to be the weakness. The locking mechanism will be the weakness. It's not fixed blade. That's just, it is what it is. So I'm EDCing this. I will review it as an EDC knife because that's the primary way that I'm going to use it, but the primary way that I'm going to review it is as a bush knife. And again, somebody asked me, I was looking at the large bush knife. I'm looking at a large camping, adventure, survival blade. Should I get this instead? And again, the answer is no. However, maybe you are in the bush, hunting, hiking, camping, whatever, and all you have is your pocket knife. Will this work as a field knife? And that's really what we're going to focus on. We're going to be doing some bush crafting and some stuff. And it's called the large bush folder, so I think it should be reviewed in the bush. That's what we're going to find out. I think we got some good weather coming up, and I'm hoping to do like 90% of that filming this weekend. I'm sure nobody's watching at this point, unless they're very interested in this knife. Let's talk about other things. This knife is currently selling as in 2020 on Knife Center for $365. I think that it's comparable in size to a Medford. And for the price, I think it's superior to a Medford in what you are actually getting in fit and finish and materials, especially if you talk about Medford from 2 years ago when they were still stuck in D2 land. $365 is a lot of money. For a folder like this, if this is what you want, it is not a lot of money. It's an absolute bargain. Now, this knife is made in Taiwan. Halfbreed Blades is an Australian company, but they outsource to all kinds of countries, including the United States, for some of their manufacturing stuff, for most, if not all of their manufacturing stuff. And this knife was made in Taiwan. Now, I learned about 1.5 to 2 decades ago that Taiwan had amazing manufacturing capabilities when, as a little kid, I started realizing that almost all of the premium BMX components were made in Taiwan. Of course, I rallied against that and bought American, even to my detriment. And to a great degree, I will still do that. However, I have learned recently firsthand how amazing the Taiwanese premium knife market can be. I mean, the value that I've been seeing and the quality I've been seeing coming out of Taiwan. I started working, reviewing other Taiwanese knives, and now this is an Australian knife that's manufactured in Taiwan. I just am blown away by the quality. So $365, this much freaking titanium. Titanium's not G10 or micarta, guys. I think they might actually start coming out with some G10 or micarta handle scales. I heard a rumor, maybe, not exactly sure. But the titanium, first off, is expensive, but it's very expensive to machine. I've worked with it a little bit, and it hardens, it work hardens. So as it gets heated up and ground on and everything else, it gets harder. Then it goes back to being soft. It's a freaking nightmare. And so this is just so much titanium. Oh, and before I wrap this up, the other thing I will say, this is the OD green one. I don't know if this is how all of the OD green ones look, but I would call this gray. There's a green hint to it, but not enough green to call it OD green, in my opinion. I would call it gray, maybe some kind of tactical gray name, like frickin', What's really stupid on the fly? All right, come on, brain. Like freaking something Australian. What do you got in Australia that's green? Like freaking death spider alligator gray or something. I don't freaking know. But I would definitely call it gray. I imagine that it's supposed to be OD green, but I imagine the anodizing process with titanium might come out with this gray color. Not really sure. I like it. Wouldn't call it OD green. But I like it. So I need to put a bead on this thing. Let me know what you guys think I should do. I'll probably end up putting something from Badass Beads on it. I'm stoked to use it, and I'm stoked that it's on the market. I'm amazed at the Taiwanese knife market right now with some of the stuff that's coming out of there, because they see what the trends are and they get on top of them. They offer something that's totally on the money for a price that's absolutely amazing. And I still don't like buying from China. I'll do it sometimes. Obviously, I'm on a phone, right? But when I have a choice between manufacturing in China and almost anywhere else, I will pick anywhere else. But, you know, it is what it is, and Taiwan's pretty cool. In fact, there's a Taiwan gun that I want. The Taiwanese military upper is a piston-driven AR platform, because it bolts onto an AR lower platform upper. It's freaking sick. I think it's called the A1. Freaking cool. So Taiwan, they've got manufacturing figured out. They've potentially got maybe the best bang for the buck potential out of any country in this world besides the United States of freaking America. So good stuff. Halfbreed blades. Super stoked on this folder. This is just my initial impressions review. It's supposed to be quick and to the point. It never is, but the next time you see this knife, unless you're on Instagram, it will be in the woods. With that being said, you can get updates more often on what I'm testing and how things are going if you follow me on Instagram at the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. Also, that link will be in the description box below. You can support this channel in other ways in the description box below. There is my personal company, beachandtactical.com, with an Instagram for that as well. And we have Exodus Knife and Tool, my knife brand. Link for that in the description box below through Instagram. Soon that will have a website. And I have a Patreon, and I am a affiliate for Palmetto State Armory and Optics Planet. So, plenty of ways to support the channel. You don't necessarily have to give me $1. If you can just buy the things that you were already going to buy anyways through my link, through Palmetto State Armory or Optics Planet, I'll get a small kickback, and I really appreciate it. And it helps me spend more time on YouTube to make more money through YouTube, because I don't have to spend as much time making money elsewhere. Thanks for watching. Talk to you in the comment section below, and I hope that you have a blessed day.